Welcome back or welcome to the Route to Write YouTube channel. If you're new here, you can find plenty of writing tips, school assignment help, how-to videos, and general writing content to support you as a writer. In this video, we're going to learn how to write an amazing diary entry just like the one you can see here. And the good thing is that it's got a very simple structure, it's easy to memorize, and it applies to lots of different school assignments. We'll begin by looking at the structure of a diary entry so you know how to open it, what goes in the middle, and how to conclude. We'll then move on to look at the content of a diary entry so you know exactly what to include in your diary. And then we'll finish the video by looking at some useful tips so that you can perfect your diary entry. Now before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with lots of useful writing videos. So if you've been asked to write a diary entry for a school assignment, you might be wondering what a diary entry even is. Well, a diary entry is a personal record where individuals can jot down their daily experiences, thoughts, and feelings. These diary entries offer a private space for reflection and self-expression, and they allow the writer to document important events and explore emotions. So because of this, a diary entry is a really common school assignment. Now sometimes we write diary entries from the perspective of a different person or even a character from a novel or a short story that we've been reading. Now this gives us a really different perspective of a literary character. So now we know what diary entries are and why we write them, let's jump into the structure of a diary entry. So diary entries have a very simple greeting at the beginning, and usually that is "Dear Diary." You may have a name for your diary, and that's okay. You can greet the name of your diary directly. But if you don't, go for "Dear Diary" as your diary opening. Now, presuming that our diary entry is about one individual day, we'll begin by talking about the morning, and we'll talk about what we did and how we felt and anything notable that occurred in the morning. And that will be just one paragraph of the whole diary entry, and that's because our paragraphs are used to separate ideas and separate chunks of time, so we want to make sure that we contain everything from the morning in one paragraph. We'll then get to the middle of the day, and this will be a paragraph about anything that occurred in the middle portion of our day. Now, that doesn't mean you always need to include a paragraph for every part of your day. If there was nothing notable that happened, or there was nothing notable that happened to your character, then it might not be something you want to include. But if it is, you can see you follow this chronological or time order of the day. Next, we get to the evening. And I'm sure you can guess by now this is where you'll include anything that happened in the evening or any feelings that you or your character had during the evening, anything that's really notable and worth talking about in the diary. Now, if necessary, you can add an end of the day paragraph as well, and this is where you'll perhaps write your feelings when you're going to sleep, anything that was concerning you during that time, anything on your mind. Again, if nothing really happened then, it might not be a paragraph you need to include, but if there was something important, then it would go here. We'll then finish our diary entry with a closing, and this is very similar to the greeting. It's just a way of simply ending our diary entry. In the example here, you can see we've got a very short closing, which is "from." You could vary that depending on the style of your writing or your mood at the time. It might be "love from," it might be "write again tomorrow." It really depends, but you can be creative here and adapt it to your general tone of writing. So now you know how to structure a diary entry, let's look at what we should write about in a diary entry. So we could start by writing about any important lessons that we learned through the day. Now we know that diaries are meant for reflection, so lessons learned is going to be an important part of that reflection. We might include key events, whether they're ordinary or special events that took place. Now this is going to be especially important if you're writing from the perspective of another literary character. Any key events that happened in the story, especially relating to your character, should be included in the diary entry. You'll want to include key details about the setting, and this is where you can practice some of your descriptive language. Make sure you've got some sensory details in the diary entry. You'll also include any personal thoughts, maybe personal thoughts that you didn't share with other people, or personal thoughts that your character didn't share with other people. And then you'll want to include feelings and emotions as well. And it's very important to remember that diary entries are very personal, so making sure you've got those feelings and emotions is going to enhance your diary entry. So if you follow those structural and content guidelines, then you'll end up with a finished product that looks something like this. Now I'd recommend that you pause the video around here and make sure to have a read of the diary entry if you've not done so already. See if you can identify any of the structural features or any of the content guidelines we've just discussed. But if there's anything that you don't understand, or if you think there's anything missing, or if there's anything that you want further clarification on, make sure to ask those questions in the comments and we'll be able to solve any of those problems for you. So if you read through the diary entry, you'll notice that the writer talks about some key events from the day. They describe the setting of the diary entry, and they also include lots of emotions and feelings as well, all of which we've discussed previously in this video. So by now you should be feeling ready to write your diary entry. You're familiar with the structure and you know what to write about. But let's just go over a few bonus tips to make sure that you perfect all of your diary entries in future. So the first tip is that you should always write your diary entry in chronological order. That just means in time order. So if you're writing about one individual day, start with the beginning of the day and then work through the day in individual paragraphs until you get to the evening or nighttime. And that way, your readers will be able to follow your diary entry easily. The second bonus tip is to include sensory details in your diary to keep it entertaining. Now yes, diary entries are there to provide information for your readers about your day or about your character's day, but the other purpose is to entertain. Diary entries have to be enjoyable and entertaining to read. And to do that, you need to make sure you're including some strong descriptive writing in there to keep your readers engaged. And the third bonus tip is to include personal details about your feelings and emotions, or those of your character, of course. We've mentioned it briefly earlier, but diary entries are extremely personal pieces of writing. They're supposed to get into those kind of personal issues, the feelings and the emotions and the deeper personal thoughts that you have. So if you're writing purely about what you did in the day, you're not really going to tick all of those boxes that you need to when you're writing a diary entry. So make sure you're being very personal and very emotive as well. So that's everything that you need to know to write a strong diary entry for a school assignment. Let's just summarize everything that we've learned. So we know that we need to start with Dear Diary or another similar greeting for our diary entry. We should include our key events from the day. We've got to have lots of emotions and feelings in our diary because they're very personal pieces of writing. We want to make sure that we're writing in chronological order or time order, so to not confuse our readers. And finally, we need to include paragraphs to separate our ideas. We don't want to do our diary entry all in one paragraph, because with any piece of writing that's very difficult to understand. Now again, if there's anything else that you need to know about diary entry writing, or if you have any questions, make sure to ask them in the comments and we'll be able to get back to you with answers. So I hope that this video was useful, and if it was, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You'll find lots of writing tips, school assignment help, how-to videos, and general writing content to help you develop as a writer. And we'll see you in the next video.